What is Project Lugger?
Quite simply, Project Lugger is an organisation that has now fortunately achieved charitable status, that was set up to try and halt and perhaps even in the future reverse the decline of the Lugger falcon, which over the years its population has literally crashed. So Project Lugger is an organisation to help save the Lugger falcon.
Why did you decide to found Project Lugger?
Luggers have always been a falcon I've been very fond of. In fact, my first ever large falcon that I flew was a haggard Lugger falcon. And it upset me a few years ago to learn that their numbers were declining. And I noticed this by going around falconry centres where you always saw a Lugger at various centres. They were becoming increasingly difficult to spot. And then when I looked into it a little bit, I found out that the wild population had absolutely crashed. Something like 85% of Luggers had gone in the time that I'd been practicing falconry in my life. And I decided to try and find out what organisation was doing something and I would contribute something towards Luggers because of the soft spot I had with them. And I couldn't believe that, first of all, nothing was being done, but worst of all, it wasn't even being recognised as a problem. Luggers and the fact they were disappearing didn't seem to worry or affect anyone. So something had to be done.
What are the reasons behind the rapid decline in recent years?
As with all raptors across the world, no matter what the species, Luggers are facing the normal threats of losing their territory, losing their nesting areas, losing their prey base that they rely on, especially with something of a specialist feeder like a Lugger when they're in the breeding season. And of course we have persecution, but one of the major factors that Luggers suffer from that fortunately other birds of prey don't because it's such a vile thing is the practice of barrack, is literally trapping a Lugger falcon, a beautiful Lugger falcon like this, sewing its eyelids shut, tying its legs together and tying a bundle of nooses to its feet, and the Lugger is then thrown out for catching larger, more powerful falcons to supply the illegal falcon trade, which we all assume is going to the Middle East. Years ago, Luggers were used as barrack, but they were used in very small numbers and they were used in a different manner. And it meant that although barrack is still disgusting, about 90% of the Luggers survived and at the end of the ordeal were released. In the modern way of using a Lugger for barrack, they're being used in 15, 20 times the numbers they ever were previously, and every single bird used dies. So for every Lugger that's trapped for barrack, 0% go back to the wild.
Why are you focusing on conserving Lugger falcons specifically?
We're concentrating on the Luggers really because perhaps initially my own personal love of them, and also the utter shock that I found when nothing was being done. Now, as with most falconers, I'm a conservationist at heart and I care about all birds of prey, whether it be a vulture, a barn owl, a peregrine falcon, I don't care. All birds of prey, well, all birds and animals need to be treated with respect and need to be allowed to live their lives. But there was nothing, absolutely not one thing that was being done to help the Lugger falcon.
And what are the aims for the project?
The aims of Project Lugger are exceedingly simple to tell you and exceedingly difficult to try and implement. The aims of the project are to raise awareness of the Lugger and its plight, and also as a species in its own right, and to try and halt the decline and perhaps through breed and release and through building a gene pool at some stage have breed and release schemes where we can actually start to reverse that decline. The important thing at the moment is to try and stop the decline, and then we will see about how to try and slowly build the numbers back up.
Over the last 12 months, how has the project been working towards these aims?
The project over the last 12 months has made tremendous strides in the work we want to do. I personally, with another trustee, have been to India to see Luggers in the wild and speak to conservationists, wildlife photographers, etc. And I've been 3 times in the last 15 months or so to Pakistan to try and help Luggers. we have made literally tremendous strides. We've built up a huge network of friends. We've built up working relationships with people in India and Pakistan, particularly Pakistan. And we are now starting to break new ground in Myanmar. These are the three countries where a decent population of luggers still does exist, where you could truly say they are indigenous. 5 or 6 other countries they used to be found in now no longer have lugger falcon populations. So to try and concentrate on those at the moment would be a massive drain on resources. So we're concentrating on the 3 countries where they are still found, and we're trying to move forward. Now, as I say, in the last little while, we have had tremendous progress. In fact, myself, I've even been to Pakistan and helped with the release of luggers that had been illegally trapped to be used as barrack. And we've helped restore them to health, get them fit again, fit enough to be released into the wild, and then actually followed that through with releasing these luggers. So tremendous progress. And also, of course, if you go to Dorset Falconry Centre, we now have our own lugger zone where we have hopefully breeding luggers for the future.
How did you manage to navigate the associated problems with the coronavirus, especially when you were travelling to and from Pakistan?
One of the most stupid questions I got asked on going to Pakistan a couple of times to help with rehabilitating lugger falcons was, weren't you scared of catching COVID? No, I wasn't scared of catching COVID. I was bloody terrified, obviously. But sometimes you just have to do what you need to do. My one little braggy moment, I suppose you would call it, is when I went the second time to Pakistan, unless flights were your reason for flying was essential, you were not allowed to board a plane. And I got to Heathrow Airport and the woman wouldn't want to board me, or wouldn't want to let me board. And I explained what we were doing, and I said if I had proof from a government minister of Pakistan, would you allow me on the plane? And she said, yes, of course. So I opened the WhatsApp on my phone, pointed to 3 different government ministers and said, take your pick. And very kindly, the minister she chose sent an email direct to her desk, and I got onto the plane. That's my one braggy thing, that I have government ministers from Pakistan in my WhatsApp, and they were kind enough to help me. But other than that, when you get to Pakistan, or you just obviously use all the normal precautions you would use if you were here. You just social distance, you wear masks, you constantly clean your hands and use gel. Just be sensible, basically.
You've been working in Pakistan with luggers who have luckily avoided the fate of barrack. What is the source of the problem when it comes to trapping luggers, and how is Project Lugger working to resolve the problem?
This is one of the biggest single problems we face. Luggers being trapped for barrack is an ongoing situation, and one that's getting worse, so i.e. more and more luggers are being taken. If we could persuade the end users of the falcons that are trapped by using luggers, then it would cease overnight. Trappers in Pakistan wouldn't trap lugger. A lugger in Pakistan in really good condition, no falconer buys one. If they want one, same as a goshawk or a peregrine, they'll go and get one. The luggers that are trapped are used for barrack, and they're used purely and simply to obtain other, more desirable falcons to fulfill the illegal falconry market in the Middle East. If we could persuade those in the Middle East not to use wild-taken sakers and peregrines from Pakistan, the lugger population wouldn't be saved, but it would be a long way towards it, quite literally overnight. This is probably the almost insurmountable problem we face, is trying to persuade the end users not to use these birds from Pakistan, and this in turn would save the lugger falcons and save a great many of them.
What are your next ambitions for the project in the affected countries of India, Pakistan and Myanmar?
Through the help of some of the people that we work with, most especially Kamran Khan Yousafzai, we have obtained a 3.5 acre site in Gilgit in northern Pakistan, and we're in the process. I say in the process, everybody's trying to raise money to do what we need to do because we're sharing the facility. But we're in the process of raising money to build a rehabilitation centre in northern Pakistan. And if we can get that off the ground, then that will be a major step. It will be the first establishment of its kind in Pakistan, and Pakistan wildlife departments will happily then pass on illegally trapped birds that they've confiscated, because now they will have a conduit to put them back into the wild, which previously they didn't have. Therefore, they were reluctant to confiscate them, because what were they going to do with them? So that's the first thing. Secondly, as I mentioned previously, we have this most beautiful lugger zone at Dorset Falconry Park. I mean, it really is, from my point of view, it's a dream come true. It's just a haven for luggers to educate people, to show people what luggers are like, and also to let those luggers breed in harmony. And so we can have luggers to give to other centres to carry on promoting the work. So we have plenty to do. I have a book on luggers coming out shortly, which it's taken me more than a couple of years to write and gather all the information. And if that sells well, then the project will get quite a bit of money, as all proceeds from the book are going to the project. But then it means we'll have money to expand on the education films we make, on the activity packs that we print at our expense and give to children, to the fun stickers that we give children. There's always something we can be doing and moving forward with.
In recent years, the project has made great strides in the captive breeding of lugger falcons. What is the main purpose of this when it comes to conserving luggers?
Why do we breed luggers in captivity in the UK and with friends on the continent is very, very simple. We need to supply as many centres as we can. We get centres involved with the project, but we need it's desirable if they have at least one lugger that they can fly, so they can educate the public, talk about luggers, show people luggers. But what would be even better is if eventually they have a pair and breed themselves. So all the time we're effectively making a safety net gene pool. The one thing we have to avoid is bottleneck genetics. So we're very lucky. One of the people involved in the project, Jean-Michel Dufoy from Belgium, Rapax Raptors, he is forming a stud book for us. So we will be able to tell if a centre in Belgium and a centre in, say, Scotland, they have two luggers, whether they would be a compatible pair or whether we should find an outside bird to put with them. So breeding them is fueling our own education and public awareness campaigns, as well as building up a safety net gene pool. We're not unrealistic in the project. We know full well if we bred, say, 25 young luggers in the UK, there's no point in sending those to Pakistan or India to be released, because they'll quite simply die. But what is feasible is to work with people in Pakistan and India, work with the authorities, work with falconers and conservationists, and establish breed and release schemes over there. And then from England, from Europe, we could supply them with young luggers to make up pairs. And then the young produced from those birds could be released, hacked back into the wild in areas that are deemed appropriate and obviously have sufficient food supply and nesting areas, etc.
In a relatively short period of time, Project Lugger has developed to a stage where it's operating not only across Europe, but also the affected countries. How have we managed to achieve this scale of progression in such a short period of time?
We've been very fortunate in that a lot of people with right connections, people who know other people, have looked on the project kindly and understood what we're doing is not profit motivated. It's not motivated so as we can all have lovely gerfalcons and fly. They've taken the project to their heart. So people like the IAF have given us tremendous support. People like the Hawk Board in our own country here, led by Gordon Meller, they've given us tremendous support. So it's not just the hard work that we have done ourselves and the centres that are working with us have done. It's outside influences as well. People see what you're doing. I like to think they see what you're doing and think it's for the right reasons, and if they can help, they will. And accordingly, we have progressed far, far beyond how I hoped you could. When I founded Project Lugger, I drew up a 5 and 10 year plan. We are way, way past both of those. Way past. So I'm very, very happy.
You created and built up Project Lugger by yourself, but with the scale of the organisation now, how important is a cohesive team of people?
As I say, when we founded the project, there was a little scepticism, but there was also people who just took notice of what we're doing, quietly took notice. They followed us, they kept an eye on us. Every now and again, we got messages of support from people. But because the project is genuinely an honest one, no one makes any money. The rules, we are now a charity, and the rules of the charity are any travel has to be paid for by yourself. So when I went to Pakistan, I went to India to further the cause of Project Lugger, I paid for it out of my own pocket, as does everybody else who goes anywhere. Let me say here very categorically and very strongly, Project Lugger is not me. I founded it, and probably I'm still the figurehead, the public face of it. But I'm one of a team. I'm one of a team of about 9. We have 6 trustees, but we also have an education officer. We have a press officer. We have a vet who helps us absolutely no end. It's a whole team of people, and everybody, I was going to say pulls their weight, but that's a ridiculous thing. They do more than that. They do it because they want to do it, and they do what needs doing to get results. All of us are enthusiastic, and all of us work hard to save these wonderful birds.
Are there any future events coming up for Project Lugger?
This year we will have around, there'll be the 10 luggers that are resident here at Dorset Falconry Park in the Lugger Zone. But we will have approximately, the last count will have another 9 or 10 luggers visiting on the day. So we'll have a weathering absolutely chock full of luggers. We'll have various displays going on. We'll have a bit of a barbecue. We'll have a raffle to raise money. And other centres will join in, not on quite such a large scale, but they will have their own miniature luggerganzas, if you like. So there's always plenty going on. Our Facebook page is active. We've got a really exciting programme we're putting together for children. We're going to have a little lugger club. We've got an education video we're making, which will be available free to schools and with follow-up literature. So much going on, so many exciting things, and so many things, to be honest, 4 years ago I could never have envisaged we would be doing. Hence, that's why I'm always so happy and so positive about the project. We've come, in 4 years, we've come far, far further than I hoped that we could achieve in 10 years. So what will we have achieved in 10 years? World's our oyster, or rather, let's put luggers back in the wild where they belong.
And finally, how can those watching this short film do their bit to help lugger falcons to get involved with the project and stop this fantastic species from declining any further?
Right, this is the point where everybody will expect me to say, put your hands in your pockets and contribute. Well, do. Luggers need your help. But in all seriousness, buy the book that's going to be out on luggers, visit your local centre, visit our website. It will show you where all the centres are that have luggers and participate with us. Just be aware of what's going on. Keep an eye on us, and if there's something that we need people's help with, even if it's just a voting on something or perhaps writing a letter, it will be on the website. So please do help us. These birds, let me just show you this lovely falcon. This is Edna. Edna was captive bred, obviously, in this country. We have to save these birds. We can't let these birds perish. We have to get off our backsides and do something.
Thank you, Bob, for your time and also for all of your hard work in Project Lugger.
Thank you, Edna. You're a good girl.